I sold my car so my sister could attend a life-changing course, but she quit after 3 weeks. Now my family manipulates me to fund her boyfriend's dream, and the way I choose to strike back will leave them utterly reeling soon. My name is Daniel. I'm 27. I work 2 jobs, day shifts at the loading dock and night shifts at a gas station twice a week. 3 months ago, I sold my car so my little sister could attend what she called a life-changing intensive self-development program. She said it would open doors. She said she'd finally be someone. Mom called it an investment in her future. What no one talks about is who paid the bill for that investment. Spoiler, it wasn't Mom. I sold the only car I owned, a scratched-up, loyal 2010 Corolla that still ran like a dream. I've walked to work every day since. Rain, heat, snow. Chicago didn't care. Neither did my family. And Ashley? She quit the program after 3 weeks. Said it was too intense and that her inner child was triggered. I didn't even know what that meant. Here we were again. The cycle was spinning up for another round, and this time the target wasn't even Ashley. It was her perpetually unemployed boyfriend. The whole thing kicked off at one of those mandatory family dinners. The kind where absence wasn't really an option if you wanted to maintain even the illusion of belonging. I sat there methodically working my way through what had to be the driest meatloaf in recorded history, each bite requiring the kind of jaw strength typically reserved for beef jerky. Meanwhile, Ashley performed her usual dinner theater, gracefully twirling spaghetti on her fork with the kind of European sophistication that seemed wildly out of place in Mom's deteriorating kitchen. A space where the wallpaper peeled like old skin in the microwave had developed a disturbing habit of throwing sparks whenever someone dared to look at it sideways. "Daniel," Mom announced, her voice carrying that particular tone she used when she was about to ask for something significant. She folded her napkin with the kind of precision and ceremony typically reserved for signing peace treaties. "You remember Jason, right?" "Of course I remember Jason." Ashley's boyfriend with his carefully cultivated man bun and the perpetual cloud of vape smoke that seemed to follow him like his own personal weather system. The guy who dressed like he was auditioning for a low-budget action movie, all muscle tanks and that questionable pleather jacket that made noise every time he moved. He'd supposedly been crashing at our parents' place for a few weeks while figuring things out, which was the family's polite way of acknowledging that it had actually been 5 months of freeloading with no end in sight. "Yeah," I said flatly, stabbing the meatloaf. "Hard to forget." Ashley beamed, nudging him with her shoulder. He winked at me. Winked. "So," Mom continued, "Jason's been accepted into this amazing self-leadership certification. Very elite, very transformative. Ashley found it. Isn't she incredible?" "Incredible?" I repeated, swallowing dry meat and rage. Dad finally looked up from his phone. "It's not cheap, though. But we figured you've always been supportive, always giving. You've got that emergency fund, don't you?" My fork stopped halfway to my mouth. I blinked. "Excuse me?" Ashley reached for my arm like we were besties. "Danny, please, it's only $6,000, and it's his future, just like mine." The words escaped before I could stop them, accompanied by a laugh that came out harsh and brittle, cutting through the dinner table tension like a blade. "Your future lasted all of 3 weeks, I said, and immediately watched Ashley's face crumple as if I'd physically struck her. The reaction was instantaneous. Mom's sharp intake of breath filled the silence, her expression morphing into one of horrified disbelief as though she'd just witnessed an act of unforgivable violence right there at her dinner table. "Daniel, that's completely unfair," she protested, her voice trembling with maternal indignation. "You know perfectly well that Ashley had an incredibly difficult time adjusting to the program's intensity. These things aren't always straightforward." But the truth was simpler and more damning than her explanations. "She didn't even bother unpacking her suitcase," I stated flatly, letting the reality hang in the air between us like an accusation. Ashley's defensive mechanisms kicked into high gear immediately. Well, some people clearly don't believe in the transformative power of emotional growth and personal development, do they? She snapped back, her voice rising with righteous indignation. "Right," I muttered under my breath, feeling the familiar weight of resentment settling over me like a heavy coat. "That's entirely my fault. I was obviously too preoccupied trudging through Chicago snow to get to my minimum wage job. You know, the one that paid for your enlightening healing circle experience." The sound of Dad's fork hitting his plate rang out like a gunshot in the suddenly tense atmosphere. "That is absolutely enough," he declared, his voice carrying the kind of finality that had ended arguments throughout my childhood. "You're being incredibly selfish, Daniel." That single word, selfish, landed with the force of a physical blow, reverberating through my chest and leaving me momentarily breathless. Here I was, having sacrificed my transportation, my financial security, my free time, and apparently now my basic human dignity, and somehow I was the selfish one. Mom's voice softened to that manipulative tone she'd perfected over the years. "Just think about it carefully, honey. We're family after all. And being family means making sacrifices for each other." The way they all stared at me in that moment, with that mixture of expectation and assumed compliance, told me everything I needed to know. In their minds, my agreement was already a foregone conclusion. I didn't sleep that night. My apartment felt too small, my thoughts too loud. The worst part? I wanted to say no, but I knew how it would play out. They'd say I was bitter, ungrateful, cold. Eventually, when I refused, they'd cut me out again, just like they did when I refused to co-sign Ashley's car loan 2 years ago. A full 6 weeks of silence. I'd only been invited back into the family group chat after I paid off Mom's vet bill, not because they missed me, but because they needed me. Always when they needed me. The next morning, I woke up to the buzzing of my phone. I blinked, still groggy. 21 missed calls. "You always have money, Daniel. What's the big deal?" 3 days after the family dinner, I got an email from Ashley with the subject line, "Can you co-sign for Jason's tuition?" No greeting, no question mark. Just a screenshot of the program cost, $15,950. The words, "He needs to submit payment this week to secure his spot." Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Like I hadn't already sold my car. Like I wasn't already walking to the warehouse in freezing rain. Like I wasn't patching together rent with coffee-stained paychecks. Silence became my response. A deliberate, calculated void where words should have been. I stared at the email attachment containing Jason's astronomical tuition costs, then closed my laptop with a kind of finality that felt almost ceremonial. No reply, no acknowledgement. Just the digital equivalent of a door slammed shut. Predictably, the silence didn't last long. Exactly 63 minutes after Ashley's email had landed in my inbox, my phone buzzed with the unmistakable chime of an incoming voicemail. I knew without checking that it would be Mom, armed with her arsenal of guilt-laden reasoning and carefully crafted emotional manipulation. "Honey!" Her voice drifted through the speaker with that particular blend of disappointment and manufactured sweetness she'd perfected over the years. "I noticed you haven't responded to Ashley's message yet. We're really just trying to help Jason get his life on the right track, you understand? You know better than anyone how much untapped potential that young man has. He just needs someone to believe in him, to give him that one crucial opportunity, exactly like the chances you had when you were starting out." Then came the historical revision that made my jaw clench involuntarily. "Remember when your grandfather stepped in and helped you secure that warehouse position? It's exactly the same situation, sweetie. Sometimes family has to lift each other up." The irony of her rewritten family history hit me like a physical blow. I remembered those months of relentless job hunting with perfect, bitter clarity. 87 rejection letters and emails, to be precise. 87 applications submitted with methodical determination while Grandpa was already 3 years in the ground. I had found that warehouse job entirely through my own persistence, my own desperation, and my own refusal to give up when the rejections kept coming. But apparently, in Mom's selective memory, family intervention had been the key to my success all along. The escalation began. The family group chat was renamed from Family Circle of Trust to Manifesting Jason's Future. I stared at it. Even Dad replied, "Let's make it happen." I muted the chat. A week passed. Silence. Then, "Mom, Daniel, we're in a bit of a bind. We had to cover Ashley's rent this month. She got behind again. Ashley, I hate this. I feel so embarrassed. Can you just pay Mom back so she doesn't stress? I'll pay you back after." "Well, once I start doing readings again." "Readings?" I asked. "Yeah, tarot mostly, sometimes astrology charts." I hung up mid-sentence. By the second week, they stopped pretending it was a request. It was a Sunday night. I was half asleep, curled under my scratchy blanket, when the doorbell rang. I checked the clock, 9:47 p.m. It was Dad. He stood in the hallway, arms crossed, not even hiding the disappointment on his face. Thought I'd come by in person. Cut to the chase, I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "What are you talking about?" He gave me the look. The Father of the Year look. "You're being difficult. That's not like you." My jaw clenched. "You drove here to say that?" "No," he said. "I came to say this. Jason needs help. Ashley believes in him. Your mom believes in him. I believe in him. The question is, do you? My voice came out colder than I meant. No. He blinked. The silence between us thickened. Excuse me? No, I said. I don't believe in him. I believe in consequences, in showing up and not vaping on the couch while calling yourself a visionary. Dad's eyes darkened. You've changed. I had to, I said, or I'd be you. He stepped back like I'd slapped him. We stood there, the quiet screaming between us. Then he nodded, tight and cold. Understood. Have a good night, Daniel. He walked off, didn't say goodbye. The retaliation started the next morning. Ashley blocked me on everything. Mom sent me a Venmo request for $2,000 labeled fair share. Dad removed me from the family Netflix. And Jason? He posted a vague meme on Instagram. Sometimes the people closest to you fear your glow. Cut them off. Heal louder. I laughed loud and bitter, but the final straw wasn't the money. It was what they did with my name. Jason applied for a private loan with me as a cosigner. Forged email, fake pay stub, used my social security number. The call came from the bank. Mr. Morales, we're just confirming the application you submitted for Jason Finn. I felt my body freeze. I hung up, heart pounding, and called Ashley. She picked up. Finally. Are you out of your mind? I said. Why are you yelling? She replied, like I was the problem. You used my information. You tried to put me on a loan. I didn't do anything, she said. Jason said he'd handle it. By committing fraud? You're overreacting. I stopped myself. My voice broke. Ashley, I sold my car for you. I ate instant noodles for weeks so you could heal your inner child. I walked to work with frozen feet. And now you think you can fake my identity to pay for your boyfriend's dream? She was quiet for a second. Then, it's not that deep, Daniel. It's just money. You always make it back. That night, I didn't sleep. I paced. For the first time, I felt it rising like acid in my throat. Not sadness, not frustration, not even betrayal, just rage. I watched them toast each other with my sacrifices. That's when I knew I was done. The third Saturday of the month, family gratitude dinner. Another tradition I never chose but was expected to attend. As usual, I showed up empty-handed but full of pressure. My mother greeted me at the door with perfume that was too sweet and a smile too soft to be sincere. Still single, Daniel? She said with a familiar edge in her voice, her signature affection disguised as criticism. Inside, the living room buzzed with fake warmth. Ashley was glowing in a designer dress, fresh from some face yoga workshop. Jason had cleaned up, no vape in sight, hair tied in a man bun, wearing a suspiciously new button-down. Dad was seated on the couch, swirling whiskey like it was a magic potion that erased accountability. The table was set beautifully, silver name cards, wine glasses, a glossy centerpiece. One card stood out, "Congratulations, Jason." Future certified transformational leader, they were celebrating. Celebrating him. He had paid for the course, just not with his own money. "Oh, Daniel!" Mom called, raising her glass. "None of this would have been possible without you. I didn't say anything. Just sat down." Ashley leaned over, smiling like we were best friends. "We told Grandma you helped Jason enroll," she cried. "Said you're the real man in this family." Jason grinned. "Partnership, bro. You're the rock. I'm the visionary." I looked at him for a long moment, then said quietly, "You applied for a loan using my name. That's called fraud." Jason blinked. Ashley's smile faltered. "Wait, what are you talking about?" "You used my social security number. You forged my income statement. You put me down as your cosigner. Ring any bells?" Jason chuckled, but his face was stiff. "Whoa, man, that was nothing. Chill. It didn't even go through. You still tried. It was Mom's idea," Ashley blurted. "She said you'd probably agree if we just went ahead and did it. If I just didn't find out," I said slowly. My voice was cold now. I stood up. No yelling, no theatrics, just finality. Silence swept the table. "This isn't a family dinner," I said. "This is a feast, and I'm the one you've been feeding off." Mom stood too, defensive. "Daniel, don't be dramatic. We're just trying to help Jason succeed." "No, you're using me. You've been using me for years." Dad scoffed. "Oh, so now you're the victim." I turned to him. "No, I'm just not your donor anymore." I walked to the kitchen drawer, pulled out a file and set it on the table, a printed record of every transaction I'd made for them over the last year. Jason's coaching course, Ashley's missed rent, Mom's vet bills, Dad's surprise dental surgery, even the laptop Jason broke and I replaced. I did the math, I said. $123,760. That's what I've given this family in 12 months. Mom gasped. We didn't ask for all that. You didn't have to. You guilt-tripped me into volunteering. Ashley folded her arms. So what, you want a medal? No, I said, I want out. Ashley's voice rose, shrill and cracking. You're just going to walk away after everything? I stared at her. You mean after everything I gave? Yeah, I am. The silence was sharp. I reached into my pocket and played the voicemail on speaker. The banker's voice filled the room. Yes, Mr. Morales, someone did attempt to use your information for a $6,000 loan under the name Jason Finn. Everyone froze. Jason's mouth opened, closed. Ashley looked like she wanted to disappear. You recorded that? Mom asked, pale. Yes, I said, and I reported it. I filed a formal complaint with your name, Jason, and any co-conspirators they find along the way. Jason stood up. This is insane. You're overreacting. No, I said. I'm reacting appropriately for the first time in my life. I grabbed my coat. Mom tried to stop me, her hand reaching for my arm, desperate now. Daniel, please don't let this ruin us. We didn't know you were this angry. I turned to her. I'm not angry anymore. I'm done. I walked out without looking back. I didn't go home, didn't answer their calls, changed my number, moved apartments, deleted family from every app, new email, new job, new rules. That night, for the first time in my adult life, there were no missed calls, no requests, no subtle demands hidden behind fake gratitude, just silence. And for once, it didn't feel empty. It felt like peace. They took me for granted. Now they'll have to watch me win without them. It's been 4 months. 4 months since I walked out of that dinner, 4 months since I filed the fraud report, 4 months since I heard Ashley cry to Mom about how I betrayed them. They never heard back from me. Not after the 30 voicemails, not after the fake apology texts, not even after Dad's last desperate call. Let's talk like men. No lawyers. I wasn't interested in talking. I was building. I took everything I had left and built something mine. It started as a side hustle, deliveries, late-night courier work across Chicago. Fast, quiet, low risk. No one cared about the guy on the bike. But I paid attention. Every delayed order, every overpriced gig app, every complaint from businesses, trying to move packages faster. I saw the gap. So I created my own logistics platform. No middlemen, just efficiency, reliability, and brutal focus. I called it dead weight because that's what I'd been carrying all my life. At first, it was just me. Then 3 drivers. Then I partnered with a tech-savvy buddy from my warehouse days. He coded the back end. I ran operations like a war room. 2 months in, we hit 100 orders a day. By month 3, we were being courted by a healthcare distributor to manage same-day urgent medical deliveries. And I had one rule: no family. I went quiet, but my name didn't. One morning, I woke up to an email from a regional startup magazine. We'd love to feature Dead Weight in our Resilience in Motion series. You've built something raw, honest, and functional. It's impressive. Your story deserves to be told. I didn't want press, but I wanted them to see it, so I said yes. The article dropped on a Tuesday, front page. From rock bottom to 6 figures in 4 months, the man who turned family debt into a delivery empire. And just like that, the silence broke. 3 missed calls from Ashley, 2 from Mom, 1 text from Dad, proud of you, let's talk soon, family first. I smiled, ignored them all. A week later, the email came. Subject: urgent, help needed from Mom. Jason lost his job. The coaching institute collapsed. Apparently it was a scam. Ashley's having panic attacks. They're trying to hold things together, but bills are stacking up. Please, if you can just help this one time. We know you're doing well now. Your company looks successful. You're still part of this family. No, I wasn't. Instead of replying, I made another move. I bought out the courier subcontracting license for the neighborhood where Dad's business had operated for 20 years. He used to mock delivery guys. Now his storefront depends on them. My company's drivers now cover that area. They don't stop at his door. Business is business. 2 months later, I was invited to speak at a tech founders panel. One of the topics was knowing when to cut ties. I stood on stage, looked out at the crowd, and said, sometimes the only way to grow is to disappoint the people who were never really rooting for you. Afterward, a guy with a familiar face approached me. Jason, same man but less glow. Hey man, I saw the article. You really did it, huh? I looked at him, calm, cold. I did. He laughed nervously. I've been thinking of starting something too, like coaching for guys in transition. Maybe we could... No. His face dropped. No? He asked. You stole from me. You lied. You leveraged my name without asking. That's not a bridge you get to walk back across. But Ashley misses you, that's her problem. I walked away. My final message to them was public, a feature-length blog on Deadweight's website titled, "The Cost of Being Useful, Why I Stopped Saving Everyone But Me." It went viral in 2 days, over 200,000 reads, dozens of reposts with captions like, "This is what it looks like when the black sheep burns the barn down and builds a castle from the ashes." I didn't need their apology. I needed them to feel the absence they created, and they did. They called me selfish, but I was just finally living for myself. 1 year, exactly 365 days since I walked away from them, since I was called bitter, ungrateful, cold, since I was told family means helping no matter what. No. I own 2 apartments. Deadweight has expanded to 4 major cities. We're negotiating a 7-figure acquisition offer, which I might decline just because I can. And still, they call. The first message came from Ashley. "Hey, just wondering if you'd be willing to talk. I miss my brother." She attached a photo from our childhood. We were kids, maybe 9 and 12. I was helping her fix the chain on her bike. I didn't reply. Some memories are sacred. That doesn't mean the people in them still are. Then came Mom. Her voice in the voicemail was fragile, like a ghost trying to sound alive. "Daniel, your father's not well. Stress, blood pressure. You know how it is. We don't know what happened. You were always the reliable one." She made herself available. Dad didn't call. He sent a 2-word email, "Coffee sometime." I marked it unread. The day they finally saw me again, I wasn't hiding. It was at a business conference, oddly enough, hosted at the same downtown hotel Ashley used to dream of staying in. I was the keynote speaker. Topic: when cutting ties is the only way to grow. My photo was everywhere. Ashley saw it first. She was there for some adjacent self-leadership seminar. Of course. She stared at me like I was a stranger because in many ways, I was. She waved. I didn't wave back. 6 months later, I got one final message from Mom. Subject line: "We're sorry, Daniel. We've done a lot of thinking about who you were, about how we treated you. We were scared and lazy and selfish. We assumed you'd always be there because you always were. But we see now you didn't leave the family. You left the roles we forced you into. And we're proud of you, even if we don't deserve to say it." It was the most honest thing she ever wrote. I read it twice, then archived it. Now I live in a top-floor apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows. I make my coffee slow in the morning. My team runs like a machine. My inbox doesn't explode with emergencies anymore. And sometimes, only sometimes, I scroll through old voicemails just to remember how far I've come. I still don't answer, because peace doesn't require an audience. 1 year later, Deadweight is the name of my company, but I don't carry any anymore. No unspoken obligations, no guilt-laced expectations, no just this once. I walk alone, not because no one's with me, but because I finally chose where I'm going. Last week, I stood outside the old neighborhood. Ashley's building was up for foreclosure. Dad's business had downsized. Jason's new life coaching brand had vanished after 3 bad reviews. They didn't see me, but I saw them, still circling, still looking for someone to carry their weight. And me? I got in my car, the new one. Paid in full leather seats, soft ride, Bluetooth synced. I drove past them, windows down, music on, not in anger, not in triumph, but with peace.